Welcome to the Show Day Podcast for June 24th, 2019. Last night, two shows. We had one in Sacramento and one in Zionsville, Indiana. Both provided some good competitive scores and lots of competitive storylines from last night. And now tonight, we have another show in Indiana, this time in Evansville, with some cores coming from Zionsville and also other locations. So it's bound to be a fun night in drum corps, and it was a fun night last night. So let's dive right into the recaps. So at ECI Crossroads last evening, we had Carolina Crown. They won everything, all ones across the board. The rest of the show lineup, it was a bit interesting. The Cadets, all twos in general effect. As a matter of fact, everybody got their respective placements in general effect, so nothing big to talk about there. Over in visual, it gets a little interesting. Carolina Crown, they get all ones. The Cadets, actually, this is kind of their weak point. The Blue Stars second in visual proficiency. The Cadets fall 3/10 behind them, and then 2/10 back of them is the Crossmen. Then you've got the Colts and also the Madison Scouts. Visual analysis, Crown, Cadets, Crossmen pass the Blue Stars by a 10th here, 13-4 to a 13-3, and then you've got the Colts and Madison Scouts. Over in color guard, this gets interesting. Crown first, then you jump down to the Blue Stars, who are 5/10 back of Crown. 3/10 back of them is the Cadets, or actually, never mind. 1/10 back of the Blue Stars is the Crossmen at a 13-5. So you get 13-6, 13-5. 2/10 behind the Crossmen, you've got the Cadets at a 13-3. So even though they're all within 3/10, definitely not where the Cadets want to be in color guard at this very moment. I'm sure they can improve, but you've definitely got to make those improvements in the coming weeks. Definitely before you get to San Antonio and those regionals. Over here in music, we had Crown all ones, Cadets all twos. Crossmen show signs of strength and signs of weakness. You see them third in brass, but down to sixth in percussion. The Blue Stars third, where the Crossmen aren't. Then Crossmen fourth in analysis. Colts hold steady fives across. Madison all sixes in brass and analysis. Their percussion scores up. That looks good for them to be fourth there. Crossmen sixth. They're 4/10 back of Madison. And if you put this in context, Madison is what, a 15th, 16th, 17th place corps right now when we throw everybody into the mix. The Crossmen being 4/10 below them, let's say at San Antonio, if they don't make any improvements, that could be troublesome for them. Overall scores here, the Blue Stars pull closer to the Cadets than they've been in 30 years. Definitely a big storyline to watch out for. The Crossmen, they're kind of climbing up, but they kind of aren't. And then, of course, the Colts have won against Madison. I think it's 9 of 10 times now. So, good stuff happening for the Colts, not so good stuff happening for Madison. Second show last night, the Moonlight Classic in Sacramento, California. We had these 3 open class scores in attendance again. Blue Devils B, Vanguard Cadets, Blue Devils C. I'm not going to dive too much in this because Blue Devils B won everything. Vanguard Cadets was second in everything. And Blue Devils C was third in everything. So that was general effect and visual. Here's the music recap. Some good numbers for Blue Devils B. Their Vanguard Cadets pulls closer to them in music than in anything else. Over on the world-class side, there's a few storylines to look for here. Starting off with general effect. The Blue Devils, except for the one performance number by the G2 judge, have all ones in general effect, and they win general effect by 4/10. That is a big margin that really pulled them closer to Vanguard than they've been so far in their 2 prior shows this season. Then, the Blue Devils at a 29-5, Vanguard at the 29-1 mark. The Cavaliers' general effect, and this is something we see with Boston Crusaders too, those two cores that are kind of hanging in fifth and sixth and are going to try to climb their way up, but general effect's the big area of weakness for those two, especially the Cavaliers, who are 1.1 back of the Blue Devils in general effect, only 7/10, but still that's a big margin back from Vanguard. You go down the list here to those bottom three, those guys are still all fours, all fives, all sixes. Visual, the Blue Devils, they win visual proficiency. Analysis goes to Vanguard, and color guard goes to Vanguard by 3/10. Overall visual to Vanguard by 1/10.5. The Blue Devils have been pulling close to the to Vanguard in visual, but they don't in this show. I mean, it's still close, but they've been going ahead. Also, if there's one thing to look for here, it's the Cavaliers in visual. It's a little bit of a struggle for them too. I don't know how much of a struggle it is versus how much of a strength it is for the Mandarins because of how visually enchanting that show is. Because you see some threes in there for the Mandarins. And also the Cavaliers, I would say it probably is a sign of weakness because they are 9/10 behind Vanguard in visual. Over here in music now, Vanguard, all ones. Music is Vanguard's stronghold this year. We've seen that. They get a 22.95 in music. Keep in mind that's out of a 30, so they're basically at a 23 out of 30 right now, and there's still, 7-8 weeks left in the season? Blue Devils, music's not their stronghold. And I'm going to say that rather than the Cavaliers are stronger in music than they are. Cavaliers second in brass, 3/10 behind Vanguard, and 1/10 ahead of the Blue Devils. The Cavaliers also second in music analysis, 2/10 behind Vanguard, 3/10 above Blue Devils. And then music, percussion, everything goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Also, an analysis, just something worth noting. The Troopers actually, music analysis, that score actually is up. You see Mandarins 4th in content, and Troopers 5th, and then Academy 6th, and then Achievement. You have Mandarins 4th and Troopers 4th, plus Academy in 6th. So Troopers actually pass Academy in something that's something worth watching as the season moves on. So just to look at the DCI World Class Leaderboard now that the season looks to be quite well underway, 15 of the 22 world-class scorers have competed. We get debuts for Music City and Spirit of Atlanta tonight. I'll talk about that a little later. But you see, all those West Coast scores, they don't have shows this week until Friday, and some not till Saturday. You see, Blue Devils Academy not until Saturday in Pasadena. Vanguard, Cavaliers, Mandarins, they all return to action. They all return to action, that is, on Friday night in Vista. So tonight, just one show on the schedule. Actually, the next few nights, that same deal. Tonight, tomorrow, Wednesday, and then Thursday, a day off, and then all kicks back into action Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Tonight, we have Drums on the Ohio in Evansville, Indiana. It'll all get underway 6:30 Central Time with a sound sport performance by the River Brass Youth Band from Evansville. 7 o'clock will be the Welcome and National Anthem. 7:10, they'll get right underway in World Class with Music City from Nashville, Tennessee. 7:28, Spirit of Atlanta from Atlanta, Georgia. As I said earlier, those two corps are in their season debuts. 7:46, Phantom Regiment from Rockford, Illinois. 8:04, Crossman with Valkyrie from San Antonio, Texas. 8:22 will be an intermission. 8:47, the Blue Stars will take the field. 9:05, Carolina Crown. And finally, at 9:23, the Boston Crusaders. Around 9:48, scores will be announced at this one. What to watch for here? Of course, Boston Crusaders and Carolina Crown. I think at least what we've seen so far with Boston and the Blue Coats look to be significantly, I say significantly as about a point ahead of Boston. How close can Boston get to Crown? And if Crown's more than a point ahead of Boston, I'd say Crown's looking to be good right now, and Boston's probably going to be stuck in 5th or 6th once again. Blue Stars, Crossman. Can Crossman pull any closer? But the big thing to look for at this event is Crossman Phantom Spirit. That was last year's 11, 12, 13. And Spirit looks to be coming out flying this year. And Phantom struggled early. And the Crossmen are struggling in things like percussion, like I said earlier. Those are the big things to look for tonight. And it's going to make for a very interesting analysis of this event tomorrow, because Spirit, I think, very well could top both of those groups, both Phantom and the Crossmen tonight. But the big question will be, is Phantom still hanging on? Because if Phantom's ahead of the Crossmen, then there's stuff to look forward or look at. And we haven't seen those two go head to head either. So Phantom's the big one at this show, but also mixing Spirit in that has big implications as well. And also Music City, where can they score? And I know Spirit and Music City are in their first show, but they've had a few more days of rehearsal as well. Music City, I look at them this year to be passing Pacific Crest and passing those cores and getting up to Troopers and Madison and those 15, 16, 17 range cores this season. I think that's definitely in the realm of possibility for that group from Nashville this season. Tonight, drums on the Ohio, Evansville, F.J. Wrights High School in Evansville, Indiana. The weather here during the show looks to be pleasantly great. Mid-70s, sunny skies, mostly clear as the show wraps up. But throughout the day, it looks like it's going to be rainy and not a great day for rehearsal. Definitely the corps, if they have the capability to do so at each of their rehearsal sites, definitely will be rehearsing indoors today. A big blob of rain was working through the Indiana area. Really, the whole state was covered by it earlier this morning. When I looked at the weather for this event, there's a flood warning in effect until tomorrow morning. So I don't know how much DCI will look at that as the flood warning, and that's mainly due because of, as the show title is, Drums on the Ohio. That's the Ohio River. So if the Ohio River that is goes over the capacity it can flood in the area. But I think for the show it'll be fine. Maybe they'll cancel intermission or something like we saw last night in Zionsville, but I think we'll definitely get a good show out of this one in Evansville. So as I've started to do every day, I like this little segment called Question of the Day. And today's question of the day. Yesterday was about the Mandarins and where their ceiling is. Today's question of the day. Will the Blue Devils pass the Santa Clara Vanguard? And if so, when will they do it? Feel free to leave your response in the comments section below or tag me on Twitter at DrumCorpsGeek. If you ask my opinion on this one, I think the Blue Devils do pass Vanguard, and I think that's just going to be something of where maybe the Blue Devils add something to their show after a few days off, sometime down the road, and maybe Vanguard's still holding steady with what they got or something along those lines. But I definitely can't see Vanguard going undefeated. Bluecoats or somebody or Blue Devils definitely can beat Vanguard. Vanguard is vulnerable. They are not invincible this season. As much as people would want them to be, maybe, over the Blue Devils. I don't think they are. I think the Blue Devils can definitely get ahead of Vanguard, and that show has a lot of potential. If the Blue Devils, that is, can fix some of that music stuff, they would have won the show last night. If they could fix those brass and analysis scores, they would have been right there with Vanguard last night. But being down there, that's not really helping them too much right now. So thanks for watching the podcast today. Just a few things before I end today. Make sure to visit my website, drumcorpscentral.weebly.com, for all the latest updates from the DCI and DCA summer tours. scores, schedules, leaderboards, and more can all be found on my own personal website about all things drum corps. I've added a Facebook page to all of my social media sites, I guess. So if you'd like to go follow my Facebook page, I'll be posting the same content there that I do on everything else. Facebook at Drum Corps Geek. Make sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram as well at Drum Corps Geek, and subscribe to the Show Day podcast on YouTube, where this podcast and more will be posted. A final note here, if you would like the podcast to be delivered to your inbox, please email me at drumcorpsgeek@gmail.com. Just most possible ways for people to watch, the better. And finally, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. As I said earlier, questions, input, comments, etc. are all welcome. So thank you for watching today. Have a great rest of your day. And I'm looking forward to another exciting podcast tomorrow with analysis from tonight's show. Have a great day.